You're listening to the Geriatric Mamas Podcast with Jessica Raziri
and Sonia Tapley. Hey mamas, welcome back to another episode of the Geriatric Mamas Podcast. Today, we're bringing you the inspiring HOPEisode story of Lyndsay Kalista, written in her own words for livehealthy.mu.org. Lindsay is a nurse and an IBCLC Lactation Consultant at MU Healthcare, and a mama who endured fertility issues, disappointment, and devastating loss before finally being blessed with her miracle baby. Please subscribe, and we hope you enjoy this episode.
Mamas, I love a full and silky texture in my face creams because they feel so healing and comforting to my dry, thirsty skin. Well, the award-winning, best-selling, lightweight moisture release water cream by Honest Beauty called Hydrogel Cream refreshes and cools my skin on application and leaves a dewy finish. As I mentioned on the HOPEisode, Kathy's story, I love mixing Hydrogel Cream into my foundation for a healthy-looking glow. Infused with jojoba and squalene to help hydrate and soothe thirst, plus 2 sizes of hyaluronic acid to help soften and firm, reducing the appearance of fine lines. Honest Beauty's Hydrogel Cream will provide a beautiful glow for very dry skin. We're leaving the link below in our show notes. Drink up, mamas.
Mamas, I want to have rosé all day, have fun, and let myself live a little without feeling drunk or feeling hungover the next day. So I treat myself by adding rosé tinted glasses to my sparkling water or lemonade. If you're like me and you're looking for calm daytime energy while feeling alert, present, and uplifted because, well, you know, you're a mom now. Adaptogenic and antioxidant-rich ingredients make rosé tinted glasses from Apothecary great for those battling feelings of stress and looking to curb signs of aging with improved skin tone and moisture. Its tincture format makes it easy to drop wherever you're making it. It's perfect for busy working moms, busy stay-at-home moms who are looking for mood and energy support on the go. We're leaving the link below and in our show notes. So cheers, mamas! So this week, I saw a Facebook group post by an IVF mama who was wondering if anyone in the group had success with one viable embryo. Like, it was a legit question. So, of course, I said yes and posted a photo of Mike and me with Annabelle. And there were so many women who commented with their one embryo success stories as well.
That is awesome. That's exactly what she needed, too.
Right.
Because when you're going through it and then it's like you get so much negativity from the doctor side. It's like, oh, well, it lowers your chances when you just have one. And you really need that positive energy of like, it just takes one. It can happen. It can happen. So I love that you shared that.
Right. Not everyone can do like 3 egg retrievals before getting started with transfers and stuff. It's like, it's so much. So let's go through some of the comments and then I'll quickly recap mine. So one commenter said, I finally fell pregnant through IVF at age 43 after years and years of trying with our only viable embryo, which was also our last shot. I'm now sitting with my 2-year-old beautiful boy watching monster trucks. And then another commenter said, I got 2 eggs, both fertilized, but the other didn't make it to the end of day 5 for testing or freezing. So my one successful embryo is now a newborn baby who's 2 days old. It's like, how cute. The next commenter said, yes, I only had one viable embryo from one round of IVF. I had it transferred and it worked. He is 6 days old today. It's so crazy how many people could comment with like brand new babies.
I love, and also too, I was just sitting here thinking, like, I wish that I could be like a fly on the wall when she was going through and reading the responses to that, because like, it's just like, it's like a hug from so many different directions of people being like, yes, see, yes, see, this could work, yes. So that's awesome.
Right. It's so amazing. All right. So the next commenter says, I only collected 2 eggs and one made it to an embryo. He's now almost 3 years old. And then the next commenter said, I had 17 eggs. After being fertilized, I got only 1 embryo. And today he's my little prince of 17 months. Be positive. It's 100% possible. Good luck.
And that comment specifically, I really appreciate that one because as women going through this, you're told that the more eggs you have, the better chances you are. And while that can be true, it's not always about that, because here you have somebody that had 17 and then she's down to just 1. So it really doesn't,
Right, exactly. And I second that. When we did our egg retrieval, we were able to get 12 eggs. And I remember just like being so excited because he wrote it down on a piece of paper for me just to like take, because you're still kind of groggy when you wake up and they don't know if you're going to remember what they told you. So he wrote it down for me, and I just remember holding it all day, and it said 12 eggs. And then the next day we found out that 8 had fertilized and 3 made it to embryo testing and 1 was viable. And she is our little princess, Annabelle. I posted just like a picture, and I mean, it's crazy to see her as a 3-year-old with us after like just that little embryo picture, little M baby picture. So
yeah, the dark cloud will soon pass. The sun will come out, and it will work. Your miracle is in there. It's just around the corner.
Yes, exactly. And I think a lot of times we need these kind of stories where, you know, you either did 1 round and that's all you could do, or you did however many rounds and you have 1 embryo and it made it. Like, we need those stories too, because there's just...
We do. There needs to be more around that, actually, when people are going through fertility and IVF and they talk about your diet, they talk about health, they talk about surrounding yourself with family that can help and your support. But what they don't really talk about enough, and I guess this goes along with mental health, is having hope. And science isn't always going to back up what you're hoping for, and it may not feel like it's on your side, and you may feel like everything's against you. But if you don't have hope to keep trying and keep pushing forward and feeling like it could possibly happen, then it's not going to happen. You need to have that hope, because that is what's going to push you to keep trying and keep going, and reading stories like this and seeing that, like, see, it can happen. The odds were against this person and it happened. It can't, all it takes is just 1. So yes, we need stories like this. We need more of them, honestly.
Yes, exactly. There's so many things you can do for like the power of positivity and, you know, positive affirmations. There's so many things you can do. I know for Mike and I, well, it was mostly my influence, but Mike came along for the ride. But on the day of the embryo transfer, we went shopping before the doctor's appointment. Well, first I had an acupuncture appointment for circulation, and then we went shopping, and we found this little letter A, like this little wooden letter A, like decoration for her nursery. And this, it was a mobile. It's like a gold mobile of like moons and suns and like all that. It was really cute. So we got that on the day of embryo transfer. And it was just like, it was just to affirm that she was going to stick, you know? So while we're on the topic of Facebook groups, we just want to make sure we make this announcement. The Geriatric Mamas Facebook group has taken on the direction of fertility support. And we've invited my longtime friend, Brittany Glover Fratis, to help us moderate it as our fertility support group manager, with the hope that someday soon we'll be able to do some in-person fertility support meetups in New England with Brittany and ourselves. We already have 2 fun spots on the list of locations to meet up. So please join us on the Geriatric Mamas Facebook group and feel free to post your fertility questions in there or inspiration for those who are still on their journey to their miracle baby. And stay tuned for future in-person meetup announcements that will happen on the group page.
I feel like Brittany's going to like keep us in line.
Yeah, no, she's really good. Like, she used to be one of my business managers when we worked together. She's really on it with things. So hopefully, yeah, she has a whole plan, and she's really excited about this because, you know,
I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
And like, she's currently on her journey to her miracle baby. So it's like, this is deeply personal for her. And I know that once she gets to her miracle baby, this is still going to be something that's a huge part of her life. So I'm excited.
Awesome.
That's for sure. Yeah.
Hey mamas, are you someone who's 35 plus and struggled with fertility, endured a miscarriage, experienced heartbreaking fostering or adoption challenges, or were perhaps flat out told by a doctor that you will never conceive naturally, and despite the odds, eventually found your happy ending by becoming a mama?
Send us your story at geriatricmamas.com. We would love to feature your journey to motherhood on a future Geriatric Mamas episode.
So, speaking about being hopeful and on your journey to your miracle baby and the dark cloud passing and your sunshine being around the corner, today we're bringing you the inspiring HOPEisode story of Lyndsay Kalista, written in her own words for livehealthy.muhealth.org. Lyndsay is a nurse and an international board of lactations consultant at MU Healthcare and a mama who endured fertility issues, disappointment, and devastating loss before finally being blessed with her miracle baby.
All right, so I'm going to get started with her story. For as long as I can remember, I've wanted to be a mother. I would rock my baby dolls to sleep with a lullaby and change pretend diapers. As I got older, I became the neighborhood babysitter and spent my weekends watching the children on my block. It only seemed natural that I found my way into a career as a nurse caring for mothers and babies. The only thing that didn't feel natural, though, was my inability to become a mother myself. This is where my journey to become a mother began. I had planned it all out. The month to start trying, the pregnancy test I would take, the day I would test, and even how I would tell my husband. My husband, Brandon, and I were married for 3 years before we began trying to get pregnant. We had settled into our dream home and finally decided we would grow our family. We had saved money, planned ahead, and thought we had control over the situation, but we were so very wrong. When I didn't get pregnant right away, I was a little surprised. Contrary to what I remember from high school sex education, getting pregnant may take a few months. Well, a few months turned into a few more, and week by week my frustration grew. I had tracked every cycle, checked my basal body temperature at 6 a.m., and peed on countless ovulation strips, all to result in another negative pregnancy test at the end of the month. At the 1-year mark, I sat in my general practitioner's office in tears as I handed her a color-coded calendar of our failed attempts at pregnancy. I know.
One thing that has like consistent, if we go back and go through all these HOPEisodes, I feel like one of the things that's consistent is everybody, they start off saying, we thought we were in control, we thought we had control, and then realizing that you don't have control of it.
Right.
It's like that also is like a very like, I don't know the
Right.
word, humbling maybe?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Heartbreaking and humbling at the same time to realize that like you don't have control over it.
Right.
So she continues, I felt as if I was broken. I had based my entire career on caring for mothers and babies during their pregnancy, labor, delivery, and postpartum period. I even taught childbirth classes for expectant families. Growing my own family should be something I was good at. I saw hundreds of babies born week after week, and getting pregnant seemed so easy for these families. That's gut-wrenching. Mm-hmm. Countless mothers asked me if I had children. Oh, stop asking women if they have children. Please.
Right.
Stop.
Right? Just make up stories about your fake children as you smile through the infertility, because it gives them hope that someday their lives will be amazing with all their children.
Yeah, that was clearly triggering for me. I can't, like, it's a common question that happens all the time, but it's like, you just don't know. You don't know. You don't know. You don't know. Especially if a woman, okay, here's a deal. Here's a deal.
Yeah,
with
I know what you're going to say.
7
and
listeners.
It's a good tip. It's a good tip for our 7 listeners.
Here's the deal. If a woman looks over the age 30, do not ask her if she has children.
Oh, okay. That's where you're going with this.
Right. Because, and this is why I'm going to say over the age of 30, because I do think it's a common question. It's not like anything like necessarily whatever. If you're asking a woman, maybe you shouldn't ask it at all, right? But if you feel inclined for whatever reason, ask yourself first, is she over 30? If she's over 30, do not ask her, because now she's in the area of there could be something going on. There could be fertility. She could be trying. She could be whatever. If she is like under 30 and she's still in her 20s or whatever, she's in her prime. She's probably fertile AF, unless there's some kind of underlining medical issue as to why it can't. She's
not worried about it.
She shouldn't be worried about it because, like, if you ask her, she's not going to care, or she's going to have, like, the mindset of, like, oh, God, no, or not yet, or one day, or whatever. You know what I mean? It's going to be more of a playful conversation, again, unless there's an issue, and then she breaks into tears, and then you feel like an asshole. Maybe you shouldn't have asked anyway. But I feel like that should be the threshold. If you are one of those people, you just feel like you absolutely need to ask somebody. If she's over 30, don't ask. Don't ask. Just don't ask. Just don't ask.
So, yeah. I feel like a lot of times we should change the name of the podcast to something that has to do with people who are on the outside looking in for infertility and, like, all that. But anyway, just joking, because, like, we have a lot to say about that.
We seriously do.
Yeah.
Okay. And I will continue because I went on a rant mid-sentence. All right. So countless mothers asked me if I had children, as if my education would only be trusted if I were a mother myself. Friends and family began to make comments about why we had not gotten pregnant yet. If only they knew how hard we were trying. Yeah. Amen. I feel that. At about 15 months of trying to conceive, my husband and I met with Dr. Albert Sue, formerly with MU Healthcare. We were nervous and unsure of what the future might hold for us, but Dr. Sue reviewed our case and a smile of hope crossed his face. He provided us with many options, answered our questions, and confidently stated that we had a good chance of achieving a healthy pregnancy. I remember leaving his office feeling like a weight was lifted off of us. For the first time in months, we had a plan to move forward and a glimmer of hope at becoming parents. That reminds me of when we met Dr. Koo. Like, when you find your person, your doctor, they should fill you with hope. They should lift you up. You should feel like you're in great hands and they're going to be your savior to your dreams coming true. If you don't feel that way, then you're not with the right doctor.
Right, exactly. So. Yeah, I definitely had that feeling with mine too. 100%. And she goes on, I underwent a routine in-office procedure to clear my fallopian tubes and rule out any blockages. So we're guessing she's referring to a tubal flushing, which is a procedure that examines the fallopian tubes and uterus for blockages, then flushes out debris with a pressurized solution. It can be uncomfortable and cause uterine cramping. So I know people who've had this. You did? Oh, yeah. I never had this done. And I kind of wish that we did, because there's like a good chance of, like, you have like around 3 months or so after where you're like a lot more fertile if the issue was caused by blockages. So, yeah, both fertility clinics that I went to, that was like one of the first things. This is part of like the whole testing just to make sure. And they were just like, sometimes it could, I feel like this sounded so gross. They're like, if there's any kind of blockage and it can get unstuck, get unclogged, like a clogged pipe, and then everything works. Yeah. Like, ew, like, can we not? I don't know. Right. It makes so much sense, but yeah. It does. But I'm just like, if you like really put your head into it, it is kind of gross. But yeah. So I think I'm the only person I know who didn't have this when they're going for fertility treatments. Maybe it's because they didn't have any reason to think that there would be a blockage, but still, I kind of wish that we had it done. It's okay. I mean, we've got our baby. It's fine. And then she goes on to say, I had multiple blood draws taken and began a medication called letrozole. So letrozole can be used to treat infertility caused by polycystic ovarian syndrome, obviously that's PCOS, and other causes. It can also be used to induce ovulation in women who don't ovulate on their own, or to help women who ovulate but need more follicles. Letrozole is often taken orally once a day for 5 days in a row, starting on the 3rd or 5th day of a menstrual cycle. Ovulation usually occurs 5 to 10 days after the last dose. Got it. So, I was very nervous about starting this medication, but Dr. Sue reassured me with evidence and stories of success. He was right. My 2nd month on the medication, I found out I was pregnant. I fell to the ground in tears when I saw the positive pregnancy test. When my husband came home from work, I could barely wait to share the news. We hugged and cried in the kitchen, dreaming of what our new life together as a family of 3 would look like. A few weeks later, we arrived at our first ultrasound. The technician gazed at the screen in silence for what seemed like an eternity, and with each passing second, my heart began to sink. When she finally spoke, she said, I want to show you what I'm seeing. I see 2 amniotic sacs, but both are empty. It may be that your dates are off and the babies have not grown yet. We'll need to remeasure in 2 weeks. My eyes filled with tears. Working in obstetrics, I knew what this meant. I had meticulously tracked my dates, and I knew they could not be wrong. My well-meaning husband wanted to cling to the hope that our babies would grow. I, unfortunately, knew it was already over. The 2 weeks of waiting were some of the hardest weeks of my life. I knew in my heart that the babies were not growing. Each day I went to work, terrified that I was going to begin bleeding at any moment. All day long, I was celebrating other women and their babies while grieving the loss I carried in my womb. Now I'm crying. When I came home, I would cry. My husband would pray over us, prayers of hope for our babies. He told me he would never give up hope that they would grow. I admire him for his positivity and strong faith. Finally, the 2 weeks ended and we arrived at our second ultrasound. Unfortunately, the image looked the same. We sat in silence as we waited for Dr. Stu and his team to discuss our options. I was sad, angry, and scared all at the same time. But Dr. Stu was compassionate and understanding. We decided I would take medication at home to initiate a miscarriage. I was tired of waiting for the bleeding to start and ready to move on from this nightmare. I was 10 weeks pregnant when we lost our sweet babies who never grew past about 5 weeks gestation. My faith in God is what got me through. I recently found a journal entry I had written shortly after our miscarriage.
So this is the journal entry. God, I feel like this is like, I'm already like getting ready. I feel like this is going to be hard for me to get through. We can do this. We're all in this together. Here we go. Words cannot describe the pain I have felt through this, but I find comfort in knowing God has gifted me with peace, his peace, which is a peace unlike anything the world can offer us. God never promised me a child, but he has promised to walk with me. He understands my pain. After a few weeks of healing and waiting for my hormones to regulate, my husband and I decided we were ready to try again. Our first month back on letrozole, we were shocked to discover that I was pregnant again. We cried tears of joy, but this time we were so scared. We couldn't bear the thought of suffering through another miscarriage. Most people are excited to go to their first ultrasound, but we were terrified of the news we might receive. As I lay there, I closed my eyes and braced myself for the news, but this time, a large smile came to the technician's face. She quickly turned the screen towards us, and we caught the first glimpse of our little baby squirming around. I will never forget the joy I felt in that moment. Okay. Why do we do these HOPEisodes? No, I know why. I was like, woo! All right. Thankfully, my pregnancy went smoothly. It took a while for me to bond with the new life growing inside of me, and I often fought off anxious thoughts about the health of our baby. Over time, I began to relax and finally enjoy my pregnancy. Feeling the kicks and movement of our little baby made my heart so happy. That last part, I want to say that I find it interesting how she worded that, and I appreciate that she did. But she said that it took her a little bit of time to
like bond with the new life.
Where it took her a little bit of time to bond with the new life, and it's truly PTSD. I know, you know, like the whole idea, because she said that you're just so anxious that something could happen, and it's like you're afraid to bond. You're afraid. I had that, and I didn't want to say it out loud because I felt like it made me sound so horrible. But it was hard for me in the start because I was even when my belly was growing, I was still excited, but I was trying not to connect because I was afraid, what if he was taken away from me, you know?
Right.
And so I like that she worded it that way, because that is definitely a normal feeling, and it's a defense mechanism that our brains are doing to protect us. So
Exactly. So she goes on to write, on June 4th of 2019, 2.5 years after we began our journey, we welcomed Owen Michael to our family. I've never felt a love like the love I have for this little boy. Owen is the perfect addition to our family, and we thank God for him each and every day. Thanks to the team at MU Healthcare, we were able to make our dream of becoming parents a reality. They have seen me through the darkest season of my life and have celebrated with me in the brightest. I am thankful for the care and compassion they showed us every step of the way.
what a beautiful story.
Seriously. I mean, and the fact that they did the tubal flushing and just got on some medication, and it was able to help them get pregnant twice, and they didn't have to go straight to IVF. Like, how amazing is that? I know,
So
obviously,
amazing.
right. Like, the miscarriage is absolutely heartbreaking, 100% devastating. But it's just amazing that they didn't have to move on to IVF or,
I have a I have a question. So,
yeah.
and this is probably ignorant considering all the research that we've been doing. I should probably know this, but I guess maybe the way it was worded kind of confused me. So, when the technician said that the sacs were empty, does that mean the babies had passed, or does that mean that they just didn't?
Yeah, because they didn't
Form.
grow. Because if at 4 weeks, they're still technically embryos, because, that's like basically when they're
Okay.
like just attached. And you don't see like the baby or a heartbeat until what, like 7 or 8 weeks. And so it said the babies had passed at week 5. So basically, they had
Early,
just
yeah.
never
Okay.
grown past embryo stage.
So like the sac will form and the sac is there
Yeah.
because it's getting ready for that.
Yeah.
But then
Yeah.
like nothing moved in,
Right.
basically.
Right.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, they never started growing. So it looks like they both attached, they both stuck, and then they passed during the part when they should have been growing. So, not a stupid
And that's
question.
like double the loss too because you're
Twins.
probably going into it mentally expecting maybe one of them not to make it. But then to find out that neither did is like, what?
Right. Yeah. But how amazing. They have their baby now.
Yes, I know. Let's end this on a happy note. I circled back to the devastation. All of these HOPEisodes, as I was saying earlier, are all very similar. And then it's like there's like a formula to them, where it's like you find out you're not in control. You find out that your plan there's a wrench in your plan and it's going to go a little differently. And then you're hopeful, but then it's like, and then everybody around you, and you have to like watch everybody live out your dream, and that's gut wrenching. And then you feel alone, and you internalize everything, and you try to stay hopeful, and then you finally are, and then you have the PTSD of it, and you are afraid to connect, and it's you're holding your breath every appointment, and you don't believe it until that baby's in your arms, and then the baby comes, and then you're like, but I'm still afraid, and it's still there. And here we are at 2 and 3, and we're still afraid. And I think now we're moving into the territory of like it's just a mom thing. Like moms are just generally afraid at all times.
There's something about like, I guess they say like you'll never not be worried again for the rest of your life once you become a parent.
Yeah, I guess I just didn't believe anybody.
Yeah. No, it's
You're being
for
dramatic.
real. I remember how my mom used to tell me that all the time, and I did get it because, like you have to think about your child is someday going to learn how to drive, and they're going to be out on the road like driving by themselves. And I feel like that's my biggest fear with Annabelle, and I'm sure everybody has that fear about that particular thing, but like other people might have experienced like other things that were scary for them or their parents growing up that maybe they're worried about, but I mean,
feel like
like
I might be a little more afraid of Annabelle driving than I am Hayden.
yeah, probably. Annabelle's a Gemini, so she's like, oh, squirrel, there's a squirrel over there, mommy, look at that.
Annabelle's like, I came in like a wrecking ball.
Yeah.
She's like going down 95. Like,
Right. And she's like, oh, there's people stopped in front of me, and I'm going 60, but I saw a squirrel over there. Look at that seagull, mommy. It's flying real high.
So funny.
Geminis. I have 2 of them in my life. In case listeners aren't caught up on that, my husband is a Gemini, and so is my daughter, so.
I just can't get around it.
Nope. I think that's all we have for you today. Reminder, you get 20% off services at Ageless Medical Aesthetics in Westbrook, Maine with the code MAMAS2024 and a free first swim class at Goldfish Swim School in Portland, Maine with the same code MAMAS2024. You'll just need to call them to schedule your child's first visit.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. Be sure to tune in next week. Your support is keeping the podcast going. You can help by following, subscribing, rating, reviewing, and especially by telling a friend to listen anywhere or watch on YouTube.
For more info, you can check out our website at geriatricmamas.com. You can also follow us on Instagram at geriatric_mamas, on TikTok at geriatric_mamas, YouTube at geriatric mamas, Twitter at geriatric mamas, and follow our group page on Facebook, Geriatric Mamas.
If you have a topic idea you'd like us to discuss, are interested in being a guest, or simply have a funny geriatric story to tell, you can go to geriatricmamas.com and hit be a guest or send us your story.
Please do.
I've been holding in a burp.
Oh my God.
Bye.
Bye.